Commissioner Gordon, welcome to NARUP, and thank you for your time and being here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great. So our first question. The cost of homeownership continues to go up. You once said in an interview with Forbes, I worry that homeownership is becoming just a privilege for the wealthy. Can you tell us what HUD is doing to ease this burden?
Well, thank you so much for that question. And I see we didn't do the small talk thing first. But
I mean, I go right.
He's like all business. I got questions. But I want to start, you know, before you get lost in looking at your phone and deciding that this is boring, I want to just say one thing, which is that the takeaway I always want when I come to a group like NARUP that I have worked with for many years in a variety of capacities and have such you know, respect for and affection for, is to say, I'm here so that you know I'm here for you, and that I am accessible, my office is accessible. We are partners out there in the mission and what we're trying to do, and that is the biggest takeaway. So if something really interesting happens on your phone now, I've said that. But let me get to your question, which is a very serious and very important question. I am very concerned about where things are right now in terms of prices, in terms of access to credit, and in terms of housing supply.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk about a few different things that HUD is doing, and also some of what the administration as a whole is doing, because HUD can't do it alone, can't do much, you know, in this kind of environment. It takes a whole squadron of everybody, a whole of government effort. So first, one thing that obviously matters is what your monthly payment is. And we finally pulled the trigger on what I think was the you know, biggest move we could make to put money back in consumers' pockets, which is we reduced the price of our mortgage insurance premium.
As we talked a little bit behind stage, that's like an automatic rate reduction based on the cash flow that consumer will be affected with, right?
Right, and that was the goal, and it took us a while to do it because we did some very serious financial analysis. Okay. The strength of FHA's mortgage insurance fund is very important. We have a statutory requirement for how much reserves we have, which, you know, recent events might show why that's prudent. And we have, you know, a lot of important work that we have to do in a variety of areas, not least of which is to make sure that those borrowers who are still struggling receive the help that they receive. Okay. So we worked these numbers very carefully to come up with a premium reduction that we thought was meaningful for consumers and also prudent for the fund. And that's where we came out. So we're very excited that we finally rolled that out. But that's, you know, we're trying to go further than that. We are working on access to credit issues. I would say two of the biggest things that we've done in terms of access to credit, one of which was to right-size the way we look at student loan debt in our underwriting process.
Explain that. When you say the right side, dive into that a little bit.
You know, when this administration came into office, FHA was evaluating debt not based on what you were actually paying per month, but just based on a formula. It didn't take into account things like income-based repayment plans. Right. So we changed that. So now most people can get underwritten based on what their actual monthly obligations are to their student debt.
So based on their income, they'll be calculated to see what monthly payment they would apply.
Right, exactly. And the other thing that we did more recently is we added a component into our underwriting system that allows you to give folks credit for positive rental history. Okay. Now, it doesn't fully replace the whole underwriting process, obviously, but you know, it certainly makes sense to us that if you've been paying your rent that is an indication that we should take into account when we're figuring out if you can pay your mortgage.
Sure.
So there have been a variety of other smaller changes that we continue to make to the credit box, and you'll see more things come out as the days go on. But you know, the access to credit piece is very, very important. We are also, as you know, involved in an interagency group called PAVE that's looking at appraisal bias.
Tell us about that. That's very important, especially when you're dealing with minorities.
There's nobody in this room who doesn't know that appraisers sometimes look at your house differently depending on what the neighborhood looks like, and more particularly who's living there.
Sure.
And we need to try to figure out how to eliminate that bias from the system. Okay. Valuation tends to be more of an art than a science anyway. I mean,
it's an opinion of value, that opinion word.
It's an opinion. It's incredibly important to those of us who are standing behind these mortgages. We want an accurate valuation. So not only do we want this because we don't want to be part of a system that discriminates against people based on their race, based on their ethnicity, but also we want an accurate valuation of our collateral. So that's something that's very important across all of the agencies in the government now that touch housing, including ours. We recently put out some policy that we're hoping will clarify for borrowers and for you guys how you raise it up the chain if you think that appraisal bias has happened. And we got a lot of comments for that, which was great, and now we're going to try to finalize something.
Is that going to be a consumer reach out, so the consumer can reach out, or they have to go through a practitioner?
So it's really about how the consumer does talk to their lender.
Okay.
And ultimately what other avenues might be available. But it's just to make consumers understand that their insight really matters to the process, and that their insight sometimes uncovers things that those of us just sitting in an office somewhere don't have a way to uncover.
Understood. So also, much has been said about home retention options used to help struggling homeowners to make their mortgage payments on FHA insurance mortgages. Can you describe a little bit more how those programs are helping?
We have had tremendous success with our COVID-19 loss mitigation options.
Okay.
I think all of you remember the day just about 3 years ago now. Can you believe it's been 3 years?
Since COVID?
It either feels like a lifetime or like a minute. When we said to ourselves, okay, this is the scariest thing many of us have ever been through. And what we want to do is, of all the things that the people of America need to worry about, right now we don't want to have them worrying about their mortgage payment. Okay. You know, if they lose that job or if that job gets shut down because of the pandemic.
Or they get sick.
And that's, FHA immediately, before Congress passed a law about this, started offering the COVID-19 forbearances. Okay. And then we developed a special suite of tools to get people back into reperformance once they were, back in their job and things had calmed down, both economically and, of course, in terms of public health. And through that process, we have helped, either through a forbearance or through a loss mitigation solution, or both, we have helped almost 2 million borrowers. Just FHA alone, and remember, Fannie and Freddie did this, and USDA and VA. Again, this was an incredibly well-coordinated effort, sort of shepherded by the White House, and all of us stepped into that. We have found that the loss mitigation solutions we developed during COVID, they're so good, we've decided to extend them past COVID. Okay. And we've extended them formally for 18 months, and during that period of time, what we're going to do is work the back office policy process to make some of our learning permanent into the standard options that FHA offers.
And now those options are is it a la carte? In other words, you guys analyze case by case, or do you have a standard where the payments are deferred and paid upon the sale, or they're deferred and later paid on through a amortization that you guys come up with? Is it a case by case, or is it a format that's been put?
Well, so one of the great things about what we developed during COVID is that this is a very streamlined process, so you don't have to fill out all those forms that borrowers hate to fill out and are, you know, then you have the back and forth, oh, I sent the forms, I didn't get the forms, whatever.
Right.
And a lot of this can be done completely without that kind of thing. And there's kind of a tiered approach. For folks who can afford to return to the monthly payment they had before the forbearance, we take the arrearages, we put them in that second lien that we call obscurely a partial claim. And you go on with your life, and then you pay that whenever you pay off that mortgage.
Okay, upon the sale that
right.
you that balance.
But we know a lot of people need more help. COVID changed things more permanently for a lot of people, and really nowhere more than more underserved communities, you know, Black and Latino communities. These are communities that were hit very hard by the pandemic in terms of jobs and in terms of childcare and healthcare and all of these things. And so we have a variety of options after that to lower your mortgage payment. We know the most effective way to keep people in their home after they've had a hardship is to lower that payment. So again, what people need to do is call their mortgage servicer. And if they don't get help from their mortgage servicer, call us and tell us so we can call the mortgage servicer.
All right, so also, I know that most Latinos, home buyers, rely on the FHA financing to achieve their American dream. That's twice the general market. How can NARP help the FHA reach more Latino home buyers? How can we work together to reach out more Latino home buyers, use the FHA program?
So your participation in and support of this program is so critical and so appreciated by us. And there are lots of myths out there about FHA that I'm sure you hear in your day-to-day. FHA has created a lot of materials to help bust those myths. You know, hopefully folks, you can go on our website and get them. But the help that you can give us on that front is invaluable. You're the boots on the ground, and we're counting on you to be able to explain why this is a good product and why this can help people get into home ownership who might not be able to be served by the conventional market. I will also say there are other ways that we can work together. One of which I'll note is just this week, the president has issued his budget for 2024. And please look at what FHA has proposed in that budget, and what HUD and the government generally have proposed for home ownership. We have proposed $10 billion for a first-generation down payment assistance program. We've also proposed money for a fund to help us do a demonstration program on how to get better access to credit to people who are buying a lower-priced home and need a smaller mortgage. And these kinds of things that you'll see in the budget, we need to hear that you're out there supporting that, because that's going to matter in terms of whether this budget goes through.
Understood. So I'm sure you're familiar with that we released the State of Hispanic Home Ownership report yesterday. We saw that Hispanic home buyers rate increased again. From your opinion, what can be done to reduce home ownership gap between Hispanics and non-Hispanics?
All of the things we're talking about are hopefully those things. Some of those changes we made to the underwriting process, they will have a disproportionate helpful effect on Hispanic borrowers. We know that. We know people carry more student loan debt. We know people are less likely to be able to borrow money from the bank of mom and dad and need that help with down payment. And so much of what we're doing, while it doesn't necessarily sound specific to any group, our goal is specifically to reduce those inequities in homeownership, which lead to those inequities in wealth.
In wealth building, generational wise. So we're coming up here on our last question. So you are coming up on your 1-year anniversary with HUD as commissioner. What would you say were the highlights during this last year?
Well, of course, a highlight was being able to reduce the mortgage insurance premium. But I would say for me, something I've most loved about this job is, first of all, understanding how dedicated the people who work on our team are to this mission. Most of y'all know we don't pay super well at HUD, but we have top quality people, and whether they're the people who actually work on the single family team doing the operations and doing the policy, or whether it's our Office of General Counsel, or whether it's even, our procurement office, or any of the different, our IT, any of the different engines that make this go, people are very, very dedicated, but we suffer from a lack of resources, both human resources and just flat out money. And I have loved working with this team and feel very passionate about advocating for more support through the budget, more support, emotional support from the industry, and all the partnerships we need. We're a mortgage insurance program. That means we don't actually do anything. So we can't do this without our partners who are out there helping borrowers find their homes, getting borrowers that credit, and doing all the other things we need to make people successful in that home ownership to build wealth.
So if you had all those resources, right, you were able to wave a magic wand, what would be the things that you will do that you feel that you haven't been able to accomplish or would like to accomplish before your year is out?
We are working very hard on IT modernization. That sounds super not sexy, I know.
Just like,
but it's really, really important for us to operate in today's world, in the contemporary environment. And that takes money, and that takes money over time, which is hard, in our political system. Every 4 years or 8 years, the leadership turns over, and then everybody wants to start again with some new plan.
Right.
And we're really working on trying to even that out.
So tell us, you said IT, dive into that a little bit.
We just want to make it easier for our partners out there to use the program. I guess the lavalier mic isn't working so well.
It's coming in and out. So at the consumer level, or at the practitioner level, the IT, where would you like to focus it?
We just want to make it easier for you to contact us, for you to raise problems with us. We did some IT modernization on our FHA Resource Center so that you can get answers more quickly if there's something that you have to contact us about. And ultimately, if we make it easier for lenders to work with us, it will be easier for everybody in the ecosystem.
Commissioner, I really want to thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure. I hope the audience really picked up a lot of the great information that the Commissioner has offered today. And again, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you again for inviting me.
I'll help you with that.